I can say with like near confidence that we will never have another James Robinson. Like the fact that he was a running back with no draft capital, like that doesn't mesh ever. I mean, just like thinking about it, just like think about it, right? Running backs don't matter really. So if all the performances of running backs are more similar in like comparison to each other than receivers, then if you spend a first round pick on a running back, the coach is going to give them more opportunities, even though there's less of a difference between him and like the like free agent. The coach is going to give this guy more like opportunity to prove himself because they invested in him, right? And if you're a receiver and you're like outplaying someone in camp, it's going to be noticeable. So like if a UDFA comes in as a receiver and it's like really good and is beating out this like second round pick, he's probably going to play, right? Because it's easy to see. But for running backs, that's not the case. And it's generally a death sentence for like any sort of production to be a UDFA. But J-Rob not only came in and was productive as a rookie, but he was like a RB1, like high end, like every single game. He was very consistent, and that won't happen again. I mean, it was so niche circumstance that like it won't happen, and it's so anomalous that a normal person would probably say, "Hey, like just chalk it up to randomness," and that's probably what I should have done. But like, I don't know why I did this, but I decided to see if we can learn anything, and I did like a lot of number crunching, AP stats. I'm kind of doing now, but I just did way too much. I mean, it was so many numbers were just like being crunched right here, and I looked for any possible thing to explain what J-Rob did, and at first I thought I wouldn't find anything. I was like, shit's impossible, but eventually I got there, and I've compiled a couple things that you can use in your prospecting that we can learn from J-Rob that will make us better analysts in the future, I guess. I don't really know. It was hard. Like, please just watch it because it was like really hard to do. I mean, you'll learn something. I guarantee it. Okay. Let's just get into it here. So there we go. We're gonna go to the spreadsheet. Okay. Oh, don't look at this. This is private info. Here we go. So I looked at every single running back. This was like the sample was taken at like week 8 or 9. I don't really know, but it's essentially every team's leading rusher, and then all of the measurables like their weight in pounds, draft capital. I should have the BMI here, but whatever. Pounds, draft capital, 40-yard dash, speed score, burst, agility, bench, dominator, yards per carry, target share. It's like just everything they could think of. SparkX, everything. And since J-Rob was coming out of college, the best data that we had was his college numbers for like prospecting, right? So all of his intangibles went into the spreadsheet, and like everyone else's. And I put up J-Rob's intangibles and measurables to everybody else's, and I see what he excelled in, what he was bad at, so we could try to just pull something out, right? So let's go down to J-Rob here. We see that he comes in at 219, which is 11th out of 31 backs that had like a weight listed. So pretty solid there. I mean, nothing crazy, but I mean he was stout, and for BMI he was pretty elite. Just so you know. Draft capital, he was only 2. I think the other one was Raheem Mostert. Anyways, he was one of 2 UDFAs, so no draft capital there. He's like dead last in that one. And then for the 40-yard dash, he's just not good. Just not good at all. Speed score, not good. So speed score, if you didn't know, is essentially a calculation of your size and your 40-yard dash put together. So you can't have a good speed score without a good 40 or like a decent one. If you're like really really big, like 240 big, you can have like a pretty bad 40 and like an average speed score. And vice versa. If you're like really light and you like blaze, you can have it average, but it essentially like balances those out. Also, burst, he was elite. He was very he was only behind David Johnson and someone else in burst, so that's pretty elite. Agility, not everybody does this like at the combine, but he was essentially average. Bench, elite, once again behind only David Johnson, very good bench. And dominator, he beats out every single starting running back and Dominator. These are not just any running backs. These are like the team's best running back. Okay, he was the best out of the best in Dominator. Yards per carry, almost dead last, not very good at all. Target share was not publicly available, so of course, I had to go in there, calculate the fucking targets from fucking Illinois State, and just crunch the numbers. He's about average. I mean, just slightly above average, maybe. But he's about average for target share. And lastly, SparkX, he was second out of 23, once again behind David Johnson only. So these are just basic numbers, right? I mean, and you can be like, hey, he was good at this and this and this, bad at this, but what does it mean? Well, thank you. I'm actually here to explain that because I'm a football genius, of course. So I'm going to explain what they mean and what we can use for prospecting given these numbers for J-Rob, right? Let's just scroll down. And while we scroll, appreciate all the work that I did here. This fucking shit, dude. Look at this. Oh my god. Okay, so the average running back in the NFL is about 214, 215. Give or take a pound. But the average starting running back is 216. So, albeit slight, but there is a correlation between weight and it's not like just because of this, but like this is like a real thing. You want heavier running backs in general. So that's just like one thing like off the bat. But the main thing, or not the main thing, one of the best things that we learned about J-Rob was he may have just birthed an archetype. Like usually for running backs, I mean you have like scat backs that have like really good target shares and are fast, and you have big pounders and bruisers that are fast and have a high dominator, right? But J-Rob didn't fit the scat back mold, and he didn't fit the speed mold for the pounders. But what he did have was a good dominator and a really, really, really good burst score. So just like, okay, I know, I don't watch film, okay? I don't claim to, I don't want to, right? And you probably don't either. But just think about this in football terms with me, okay? So think about it intuitively, okay? If a running back is heavy enough and has been proven to carry a workload, right? They have a decent BMI, you know, and they have a good burst score, they can hit top speed pretty fast, faster than most backs. And once they hit top speed, it's not very fast, but they're heavy enough to shake off these defenders, right? Just you know, like in Madden, you're like truck them like that. It makes sense, like intuitively, right? He's hitting top speed fast, but I mean, it's not very fast, but like he's hitting it fast enough, you know? And once he hits top speed, his BMI takes over and he can break some tackles and make some things happen. So burst score archetype might have just been birthed. If you're lacking in Dominator, I mean, like for me at least, if you're lacking in Dominator, or no, if you are good in Dominator but like lacking the like top speed for like a 40-yard dash, but you have a good burst score, you might be able to replace 40-yard dash with burst score. I mean, if they have the BMI and the Dominator, and just like replace it in the graph or whatever, and it might work. So if someone has a good Dominator, good BMI, good burst score, but no speed, give him a shot. I used to be off those guys completely, but JR made me like rethink it because like it makes sense, right? So I mean, look over here, bad 40, bad speed score, but good BMI, good Dominator, good burst score. Maybe it's a thing. Also, Dominator is very important. Like we knew this, but here are the list of players in the sample with a 90th plus percentile Dominator. Okay, Jonathan Taylor, Derrick Henry, David Johnson, Aaron Jones, Melvin Gordon, J-Rob, and not included in the sample, but in the NFL, Christian McCaffrey. So just elite numbers all across the board. I'm going to do a little study here coming up soon. I mean, a pretty big study, actually. On Dominator versus yards per carry, what is like more predictive. But this is a little hint here. Yards per carry is not as important. So remember these names here. Elite. And then look at these. So we have Kareem Hunt. So these are people that were in the 90th plus percentile in yards per carry. So we have Kareem Hunt, Joe Mixon, Antonio Gibson, Melvin Gordon once again, Aaron Jones. Like these guys are studs. Gordon and Mixon are just fucking studs. But anyways, Gordon and Jones rather. Anyways, Henderson and Carson. So a little bit less bulletproof. I mean, Henderson, Carson pretty good, but not as good as these ones here. And this is actually gonna prove to be pretty valuable later as I do my study because yards per carry is not as good as Dominator. And I have more data coming, like I said there. But J-Rob reinforces that. And look at this here. Here's some other guys that were, I mean, admittedly cherry picked, but guys that had good Dominators but bad yards per carry. Akers and Saquon, they were not very good in the yards per carry department. But I mean, think about this once again in football terms here. If you're the best player on your team, like a Cam Akers, and you're getting the ball over and 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 over, it's like getting fed the ball, right? Your dominator is going to be good, but if you're the only good player on your team, and you're just getting fed the ball and like stack boxes, how can you be efficient? You know, I mean, just think about it, right? So yards per carry overrated, dominator pretty good. That's what J-Rob taught us. But let's go. We have one more here. We have one more. He was lucky. Okay, so like I said, this is so anomalous. Like this doesn't happen ever. Guys with like no draft capital don't play good in the NFL at running back. But he was lucky not only in this sense, but also this was largely based on a case by case basis. So last year, Leonard Fournette had a near monopoly of the backfield, despite being awful, right? And looking back on it, we should have gravitated towards the guy that carried a big load in college. I mean, it doesn't matter like how efficient he was because he had a bad like yards per carry. But Leonard Fournette was not very good. But he just kept getting the rock because they wanted a back in there that could play all the time, right? So J-Rob comes in. I mean, this was his main competition at camp was Divine Ozigbo, right? So I'm just gonna go through and explain this, right? Divine Ozigbo and J-Rob both were about the same weight, same draft capital, same 40, same speed score, same burst. I mean, J-Rob was like better, but same agility. I mean, J-Rob has a better bench, but here is the difference, right? J-Rob has an elite dominator, and Ozigbo has an elite yards per carry. This is about it, right? This is the dichotomy that we're looking at. Target share about the same, SparkX, I mean J-Rob, but look at this, right? This is all we're looking at. Now, given what Jacksonville did before J-Rob got here with Leonard Fournette, Fournette got the ball fed over and over and over and over. It was empty volume, but he kept getting it over and over and over and over and over and over and over. He kept getting it because they wanted one back in there to carry the load. Now, given that J-Rob had a very high dominator and was capable as a pass catcher, he makes more sense here in retrospect. Because it doesn't matter how efficient he is, because I mean Leonard Fournette wasn't efficient, right? But if they want to keep one back in there all the time, three downs, they're gonna put in the guy that did it in college, and they don't care how efficient he is, right? So if Ozigbo is efficient but can't carry the rock like all the time, why would they put him in there over J-Rob when previous history, which is Leonard Fournette, says that efficiency is less important to the Jags, right? That's a very important nugget. When you're prospecting, you need to look at things case by case, because in hindsight, it fucking makes sense. Like, perfectly makes sense. Like, we should have been taking the guy that had a great dominator and was not as efficient, because that's what the fucking previous back was, right? So, like, it just makes sense here. Just, like, think about it, right? Next time we have, like, a situation, like, anything close to this, think about it. Think what the previous back did, what the coaches did, because it will make sense to you, you know? Guys, just think about it, okay? I think that's about it. Yeah, I mean, just, like, you can read that, but that's basically, like what I was saying. Divine was efficient and J-Rob was productive, and they want the productive backs over the efficient backs. This is the data I was compiling too for these guys. But, okay, that's about it. I'm going to go over this one more time, just like the points. I'm basically done, but okay. So, J-Rob may have spawned, first point, we have 3 points. First point, J-Rob may have spawned a new archetype, and that's the burst score archetype. If someone has a good dominator, a good BMI, and a good burst score, and they don't have the speed, they can be productive, because it just makes sense intuitively, and J-Rob did it. So that makes sense to me. Don't mark off guys that are slow if they have a good burst score, okay? Dominator is better than yards per carry, and it's very important. And, I mean, that's obvious, but data right there, okay? And when you are prospecting running backs, in situations, look at things case by